Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Rowling. Do you believe you are capable of choosing your future? Sometimes it takes just one person to believe in you, for you to believe in yourself. If you find yourself continuing to say, someday I will take better care of myself, only to continue living the same day over and over and over again, then you, my friend, are in the right place. I am your biggest cheerleader, inspiring you to become you on purpose and with intention. Are you ready to create a life you love? I'm excited to share with you some big ideas that you can use today to inspire, impact, and influence your life and everyone in it. The Becoming You show starts now. Hello, my beautiful friends. How are you? It's so good. It's so good to be here with you. I can't believe the kiddos are almost out of school and we are gearing up for baseball and all of the things summer here in this household. So I'm just thrilled. There's so many fun things that are happening over the next couple of months that I'm excited to share with you as we have these conversations. So I truly do appreciate it. I know that you're not here right in this room. It's just me and my producer, but I do feel like you're here. And so thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have today. We have spent the last couple of episodes really talking about time and how if we're not careful with it, time will run our life and sometimes even ruin our life. And the invitation over the last 3 or so podcasts was to be incredibly intentional with the time that we have and to use time as the gift that it is and to have a different level of reverence with it. And I closed, I think, in one of those podcast episodes around this idea that I think one of the main reasons that we don't have as much time as we might want is because we're not very good at making decisions. And we get wrapped up into the making them or therefore not making them. And it trips us up. It slows us down. It stalls our progress and it makes us feel inept. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just going to break down decisions. I'm just going to really deliver decisions and why we make them and why we don't make them into a conversation with you today. So I hope that's okay. I hope that's okay because that's my plan. And also, text me, DM me, email me. You know how to reach me. And I want to hear from you if there are topics that you want me to expand more on, if there are topics that you want me to cover. This is for you. I love having these conversations, but ultimately at the end of the day, I want them to be impactful. I want them to be inspiring. I want them to be able to integrate this knowledge, this content, this conversation into your conversation so that you can grow in the way that you live, in the way that you love, in the way that you lead. So that being said, we're going to talk about decisions. So I want to start first with why it is that we don't make decisions. Okay. So I want to offer up a couple of reasons why it is that we don't. The first reason I believe is because we have been conditioned to believe that there is a right decision and a wrong decision. And because of that, we worry about making a wrong one, right? We might be worried about wasting money, wasting time, making a fool of ourselves, right? Or we're worried that we'll neglect our family in some way as we pursue our desires and our interests, right? And I don't want you to worry, right? We're gonna explore all of that today, starting with our brain, which is where we always start, right? There's a couple of really important things that I want you to know. Your brain doesn't want you to make a decision. Okay. We just have to be on board with that understanding. Your brain wants this to be complicated because once you make a decision, friends, you no longer have to indulge in drama, right? And be all confused by it, right? You actually now have to move forward into something. And this is scary. Doing the actual work of building your business, right? Or walking away and not entertaining the idea again for a long time, if that should be your decision, is much harder. It's much harder than ruminating in confusion and indecisiveness and just not deciding. Okay. It's also a lot more useful. Okay. So I don't want you to let your primal brain win out. It's probably going to feel really uncomfortable when you make a decision, but that doesn't mean that you've made the wrong decision, right? It just means that you've made a decision, period, and that you're a human and that you're on the right track. And I want to give you a simple framework for making decisions because I think that will be helpful. But can we just let it be simple, right? Can we just let it be easy? Can we give ourselves the gift of a decision? And once you get past the fear, right, of making one, right, you'll find that there are amazing opportunities and fascinating new people and rewarding work and valuable contributions, okay? So let's talk about making decisions. So there's a couple rules first, okay? Rule number one is that I don't know is not an acceptable answer about this decision starting right now, okay? So I want you to think about a decision, right? Let's just role play here as if you're right here with me. I want you to think about a decision that you know you need to make or that you have been putting off for a while. And it might be a decision to have a conversation. It might be a decision to bring on somebody onto your team. It might be a decision to let somebody go on your team. It might be a decision to completely change and shift your career path, right? Whatever, it could be just a little decision, right? Like, what am I having for supper tonight? Okay. I don't know. Okay. There's not an acceptable answer about this decision ever starting right now. Okay. Rule number two, there is no rule number two. You just go back to rule number one. Anytime you hear yourself saying, I don't know, I want you to have some clarifying questions as it relates to the decision. Being, what type of decision is it? Okay. This is really important for us to know. Is it a closed-ended decision? Meaning, is it a yes or no? Okay. Is it a multiple choice decision with limited options? Right? Is it an open-ended decision with like limitless options? Okay. And then number three with that, right, is there a right decision? Now, I know I just said that there's no such thing as a right and wrong decision, but I'm talking about, is there a clear moral right, wrong? Okay. Choose the right decision made. Okay. But if there's not a clear right or wrong, okay, which is in 99% of most cases, okay, there are going to be pros and there are going to be cons to either decision, good and bad, no matter what. And so instead of worrying about making the right decision, your brains are going to worry anyway, okay? Worry about making the decision that you've made right. There is an absolute false belief system that paralyzes us from making decisions, calling shots, being decisive. And as I mentioned before, it is the notion that there is a right one and there is a wrong one. And if it is not a question of morality, as I just mentioned, right, you just get to decide. And then you get to follow the strategies that I'm going to share with you to make right by your decision. Okay? Because most of the work that I teach and talk on involves understanding our brain. We think, okay, this is what we think. When we have to make a decision, we think we're going to put the pros and the cons in a little spreadsheet, and we're going to look at the pros and then make a decision from that. And if that is what we did, that would be a beautiful way to decide. But that is not what we do if left to our brain. If left to our brain, it's going to look at the pros and look at the cons, and it's going to heavily weight the cons and do what is more tolerable. And when we make decisions on what is more tolerable, we'll always be making decisions in scarcity. And scarcity is never going to give us the results that we want in abundance. Okay? So we have to really understand the brain here, because otherwise we will always be choosing a decision that kind of avoids pain, seeks pleasure, conserves energy, and keep us safe and small. Okay, we're not here. If you're listening to this podcast, it's because you want to grow. It's because you want to evolve. It's because it's important to the work that you do and the way that you lead your family and lead your life and have a living legacy. That's this work. That's why it's really important that we understand how to make decisions from a place of abundance. Okay, so back to the brain. I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions about the decisions that you need to be making. Okay. So if you've forgotten the decision that I'm asking you to make, okay, I want you to bring that decision back to the forefront of your mind right now so that you can litmus test this decision with these questions. Okay. So whatever that decision is that you know that you need to make or that you know you've needed to make, okay, bring it forward. Okay. And then I'm going to ask you this question with regards to this decision. Are you trying to avoid failure? That's what I'm going to ask you. Are you trying to avoid failure by not making the decision? Okay. Have you considered what could go wrong and how likely could these fears, this failure, actually happen? And can you make peace with worst case scenario? Most of us can. Most of us don't even think about worst case scenario. We're told not to, as that would be thinking negatively, pessimistically, right? I think it's the opposite of that. If I can make peace with worst case scenario, when my brain wants to play the what if game, and it will, I promise you this, I can just answer with Leah. We've already planned for that. If it happens, we will know what to do. What would I do as it relates to this decision if I was just willing to fail? If I was willing to fail, not judge myself, allow everybody else to have whatever judgments of me that they're going to have, because they're having it anyway, just so you know, friends. Okay? And remembering that the trial and error of making decisions is how we figure everything out. Right? So whatever decision that is, let's just talk about a decision that we need to make about having a conversation, right? That we're not having because we haven't decided to have it. Okay. What's the worst case scenario? Let's play that out. What's the worst case scenario? Well, maybe it's that they're mad at you. Maybe it's that they didn't appreciate the conversation. Maybe it's that you lose a friendship. Maybe it's that if it's with somebody that you oversee or that you lead or that you employ, maybe they'll quit. Okay, then what? Can you make peace with that? I'm sure yes. In all of those instances, you've been able to handle it in the past. I'm guessing at some point in time, you've probably had a conversation that somebody didn't like. You're still alive. You're going to be fine. Right? If you manage people, if you hire people, if you lead people, if you employ people, you've probably had people that have left. You've probably even had people that have left not happy. And when you learn the skills of communication, which we learn on this podcast, it will set you up so that you have those conversations more confidently, more inspiring, more influentially. And so you can temper that that notion that they could just leave. But the reality is if they leave, that's on them. And we can make peace with that. And so when our brains are like, yeah, we don't want to have that conversation because they might leave, I like to offer it, yeah. And if they do, we'll be okay. But am I going to be okay if I don't have the conversation? Because they might just leave if I don't have the conversation. That's what I always like to offer up. So whatever it is, whatever decision that you're making or therefore right now not making, can you make peace with worst case scenario? Because when you can, you will get out of your own way and you will be able to move forward with whatever decision it is that you're looking to do. Okay. The other question that I want you to think about this is, what emotions am I not willing to feel? Okay. If I was willing to feel any emotion, what decision would I make? Back to that conversation. The emotion that I'm not willing to feel when I'm not willing to have the difficult conversation that I know I need to have is I don't want to feel judged. I don't want to feel unliked. I don't want to feel as if I've disappointed somebody. But I'm more than happy to continue to stay disappointed in the relationship by not having the conversation. Okay? What emotions are you not willing to feel? And if you were willing to feel all of them, you would make more decisions in your life. You can handle it. I promise you, you can. You've handled it before. So that is the invitation, just to go ahead and make that decision. Understanding that by being willing and open to feel everything, to be willing and open to fail at whatever the decision it is, knowing that that is the way that you're going to get closer to creating progress in your life, then you would just make a decision. And then that is what we do. We just make a decision. So if it's closed-ended, yes or no, right? Knowing what you know now, make a choice and decide not to revisit your decision for a certain constraint of time. Like, this is the decision I'm going to make, right? I'm going to have this conversation with this person by the end of week next week. Have some constraint there, right? Or I am deciding that this is the offer that I'm going to put out, and I'm going to do everything I can to get this offer out. And I'm not going to change my mind on this offer. I'm going to put all of my effort into this offer for 6 months and just see what happens. Okay. If it's a multiple choice decision, okay, knowing what you know now, make a choice. Delete all the other options again in your mind for a set amount of time. Okay. Or achievement, milestone achievement of whatever you choose. Okay. Constrain the decision. And if it's an open-ended decision, again, knowing what you know now, take a guess. Take an educated guess about what you're going to try. Okay. Make it a multiple choice decision, right? And if it's about the future and not even a decision that you need to make, stop thinking about it. Okay. And no matter what you choose, decide right now that you're not going to regret your decision or second guess it. And don't revisit it again for a set amount of time or until a certain milestone is reached. Move forward, right? Unless, of course, your decision was to not move forward, right? In which case, you're just done thinking and talking about it. So those are the biggest things that I want you to think about when you think about the decisions. Okay. You just get to choose, and you get to choose ahead of time that no matter what you choose, regret is not required. Regret is not required. Yes, you may shift. Yes, you may learn. Yes, you may try something different, but give yourself a chance. Give yourself a shot to make right on it. Okay. And then you're just going to take action. And this is the most important step in the process. If you haven't taken action, You haven't truly made a decision. This is why I want you to get really good at failing, right? You're going to get moving. You're going to put something out there. You're going to test it out. You're going to learn as you go, right? You're not going to try to do it well necessarily. You're not going to even try to be amazing. You're not even going to try to be successful. You're just going to do something. Put something messy out there to just see what works, okay? And then you call the shot, okay? And then you execute it with a certain level of certainty, right? I want you to have the belief that you're going to make it work, that you're going to be creative and innovative and certain about what it is that you are doing, okay? And give yourself a chance to believe in it a little bit. I think all too often we put something out there and we're like, oh, no, it's not going to work. And we shift. Good Lord knows I've done this. I put this out there and then in 2 weeks, it doesn't look like it's going to work. So then I get all squirrelish and bright lightish, and then I try to find something different. And then I try to put that out there. It's no wonder nothing works. It's because I didn't have the constraint to make a decision with one thing and put all of my efforts into it. And it's because I lacked the belief that it would work. That belief has to come first, okay? I want you to think about a couple of other strategies here as it relates to making a decision, right? So now that we've made a decision, now what? Okay, you've made your decision, okay? And if you haven't, maybe pause this, make a decision. You'll feel so much lighter. You'll feel so much more confident. Just make it. Then I want you to consider a couple of other things, okay? I want you to consider timing, okay? They say, lots of people, lots of thought influencers say that timing is everything. But is it? Okay? How many decisions are we not making because we're waiting for the right time? What does that even mean? The right time for who? The right time for what? What if there was no such thing as the right time? Only the time that you decided to stop waiting for the right time. And if there was not a right time, what would you do? What I find more often is that the time to make the decision is the time that it is up for consideration. Okay? And now, because we understand the brain and we understand that the brain is not going to want us to, it will have us be all confused by it. It will appear very overwhelming, and it will appear as to not be the right time. That is your brain trying to trick on you. The right time is typically the time that that decision is up for consideration. So make a decision, yes or no. It doesn't matter, just no maybes. We're not maybeing decisions anymore. Maybeing is in the land of I don't know. Rule number 1. I don't know is not an adequate response to your decision. Rule number 2 doesn't exist. Go back to rule 1. That has been so important as I have made decisions, as I'm growing my coaching practice, and I'm making a bunch of decisions on all the things that we're trying to do over here. Okay? Maybe is not an option. It's either yes, that's a no, or yes, that's a yes, no, that's a no. Move on. Make that yes right, make that no right. That's it. And then I don't get lost in the distraction of the maybe. Well, should we do this? Well, let's just table it. No, we're not tabling. We're not tabling decisions. We're making it right now. Okay? Communicate. Okay? The decisions that you have decided on must be communicated well, right? They have to be communicated with confidence, and they have to be communicated with clarity. And here's what is so interesting, friends. People don't have to believe what you're saying. They have to believe that you believe it. Are you articulating the decision, or are you still not quite convinced of it yet? And you're trying to kind of sell the idea so it's kind of easier to shift and pivot to something different. I found myself in this recently. I had made a decision to partner with a brilliantly talented coach so that we could have massive impact. And I did not communicate this decision, this vision, or the strategy behind the decision well, right? And P.S., friends, just because I say so, whether that's in your organization or with your children, is weak level communication. I used to hate it, right? When my coaches and my teachers and my bosses or my mom would just say, just because doesn't allow you to have trust, doesn't allow anyone to understand the vision, right? And just because you say something doesn't mean squat for the person hearing it. Okay? I also want you to think about the mother decision. Okay? The mother decision it's what I call the ripple effect decision. If you make this one, and you probably know what it is, friends, if you make this one, everything else will fall into place. It's a bolder decision. It takes more courage, okay? This decision must be made by an accountable leader, right? You must be ready to claim responsibility for your choice. Weak leaders find it really comforting to have their decisions endorsed by the people around them, which is fine, but strong ones are accountable for the decisions they make. And if they get it wrong, they own it. I owned it with my team. The most powerful thing that you can ever do as a leader is to say, I got it wrong, and apologize. This decision is my responsibility and I'm accountable for it. I made an error here, but I'm going to get it right the next time. Nobody else is to blame. When accountability is spread, it dilutes your decision and your effectiveness as the person making the call. An accountable leader, right, is someone that's constantly taking the responsibility, okay? And when you're deflecting your decision-making and the responsibility onto your teams, they won't trust you. They won't trust your decision-making. They won't feel safe in giving you feedback for that decision because they might be blamed for the shot that you call. They don't want to follow you. They don't want to support you because they know that you'll take credit for all the good decisions and the bad ones they'll just get blamed for, right? I want us to think about what an accountable leader does. When an accountable leader wins, the team gets the credit. And when they get it wrong, the leader takes the blame, okay? So those are just a couple of things that I want you to consider around decision making. We're not fretting whether a decision is right or wrong, right? Instead, we're going to focus all of our energy on making that decision right. We're going to devote our time and our efforts on making it work rather than wallowing in doubt and uncertainty and delay and being indulged with the confusion of our mind. We're going to choose to believe ahead of time that there will be no regrets. And we're going to approach each decision with confidence and execute it forcefully, right? And if you do, there will be a level of certainty that you will succeed, okay? I found that decisions rarely go awry when I simply believe that they will work out because that belief, that conviction is all that is needed. So, is this the decision of all decisions? Okay? Or are you merely choosing an easy one that avoids the bigger, more necessary choices? Okay? Communicate effectively, be an accountable leader, take responsibility for whatever decision that was made. Give the credit to your team when it's awesome. Take the blame when it didn't go the way that you wanted. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you not living in the land of maybe. Make a decision, yes or no, and then go make right by that decision. Have a beautiful Have a beautiful day, my friends. Take care. You have been listening to the Becoming You show with me, your host, Leah Rolling, where I share big ideas to inspire, impact, and influence your life. Tune in every Friday at 11 Central on transformationtalkradio.com for your morning cup of coffee, the hug you never want to end, and that inspirational message that you felt was written just for you. Each show is inspiring you to become you with purpose and intention. For more information or to connect with me, visit www.leahrolling.com.